Hello again, it's me, guys, the YouTube channel, and today we're gonna do another review. Today we're gonna review the Ultract Yullian. Can she stand? Okay, there's a figure. Figure just fell over. Here's box, and shit, like a bunch of shit just fell over. So for the box, it's a box. There's honestly not a whole lot to say. It's very, very thin, and there's a lot of glitter. I'm trying to help that there. Yeah, just picture the figure on the side. It says Yullian. On the bottom we have Yullian, and that god-awful Tamashii Web Shoten logo, basically plunging this figure into scalper hell. The Ultraman 80 logo, Bandai. It's a box. There's a little bit of pink on it. The figures look way too shiny, or the figure looks way too shiny than it should. And most of the pictures on the back are pictures of Ultraman 80. Oh, and one more thing I want to point out, the tray that holds the figure, as you can see, it's white and not just clear like it usually is. So yeah, now before we get on to the figure history, Yullian originally appeared in episode 43 of Ultraman 80, and appeared in every episode after that until the very end of the series, although in the other episodes she's in her human form, and she doesn't turn into her Ultra form until the final two episodes, in episode 49, where she finally transforms, not to fall over, but to help Ultraman 80 defeat the monsters Plasma and Menasma. Yes, there are actually two monsters named Plasma, and an accompanying monster named Menasma. I don't know, maybe it was named by a 4-year-old. And then she appears later in, I think she never appeared again until Ultra Galaxy Legends, where she was just seen there in the Land of Light, and then again in Ultraman Zero Revenge of Belial, or whatever that movie is called. So that's it for the somewhat short history. Now on to detail. If we can focus here. Can we focus, please? Focus, please. Kind of. Well, you get the idea, basically. You know, the detail is nice, even though it's an Ultract, and there's just not really a whole lot to say. You can kind of see there's a stitch pattern going along the front of her boots, which is similar to the one on the front of 80's boots. And yeah, you can see there's not really a whole lot to say. She has her high heels, which are surprisingly easy to stand her in, even though you'd think a figure like this, with tiny feet, with high heels nonetheless, would be hard to stand, but no, she's very easy to stand, and you know, there really is not a whole lot to say. There really isn't. It's really plain detailing. But as you can see, her general body structure is much, much more feminine than the other figures, which is very fitting. And it is a different body type than Mother of Ultra, which is very interesting, because, well, we won't get into the differences between her and Mother of Ultra, because I don't have that figure. But yeah, as you can see, very plain detailing, turn it around, and whoa, okay, oh geez, let's not talk about that for too long, at the risk of sounding like some kind of horrible pervert. Yeah, and I'm not really sure if you can tell, but whoa, now we're focused. Okay, woo, okay, no, I said I wouldn't go into detail with that, no. So yeah, as you can see, the belt buckle, it's very, very soft, especially compared to Ultraman 80's. And again, is missing the paint on it. It's just silver. It should either be completely gold with the silver cross in the middle, or just completely silver like this with a gold cross in the middle, but it isn't. It also turned out very, very soft. As you can see, we have her well, you know, what are we gonna call this? You know what? We've already gone full measure. There's no going back now. There's her tits right there. Her boobs, as you can see, they're very well defined. Very well defined boobs. Okay, now we've just gone the full measure here, and there's no going back now. There's her color timer. Very small color timer. Looks kind of like a beam lamp. But that's right there. There's a beam lamp on her head. You know what? Let's get back to the color timer there. It looks nice. It's color timer. It's not actually clear. Would have been cool if it was. You know, we got our compound eye sculpt. Nice translucent. They got the nice texture to them. Her nose. There's a beam lamp, like I said. It's metallic. We got our rectangles for ears, and she's got earrings. Weird hair thingy that looks like an eye slugger. We got the zipper going down. We already talked about that there. We got her bracelet, which is represented by 3 dots on top of her arm, which is literally the only thing making it different from her other wrist. And there we have her fists, which have nice glove-like wrinkles and seams, but are not very threatening looking. Like, they just look like she's casually holding fists. Like, they're not like ready to punch like the male Ultract figures are. That is a little bit of a gripe of mine. I wish they looked a little more threatening for fists. So that's it for detail. Can we focus out? Yes, please. Thank you. So for articulation, she's actually taking somewhat of a step backwards from Ultraman 80 because she just has a ball joint peg in the head, at least for the top joint, so it can just move up and down, make a horrible creaking noise. It rotates a little bit. For some reason, mine's on an angle, so the neck has to be on a weird angle for her to look straight, or at least have her head straight. And yeah, you know, it rotates a little bit. Bottom neck is on a ball joint, which is primarily where most of her motion comes from in her head. And for some weird, and to get her to look up all the way, the upper joint has to look down. That gets this little hairpiece out of the way, then the ball joint in the back can look up, because if you move this joint up, she barely looks up, and she can look up about that far. So it's a little weird to maneuver around. Shoulders rotate 360 and do not creak around like every other Ultract I ever had, and they feel very nice and very smooth. The articulation on this figure, I'm going to say before we even finish articulation, is absolutely fantastic, and honestly makes this one of my favorite Ultracts of the ones I have, and not just because of, or, you know, no, we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. We're just gonna keep on with articulation. So shoulders are hinged. Yeah, shoulders are hinged. Do want to be careful because, as you can see, there's a little bit of silver paint bleeding through just from scuffing up against the shoulders. There's a swivel right there acting as a bicep swivel. Double hinge elbows, which are very, very, very smooth and nice and fluid, although the lower elbow joint looks a little weird when fully bent, but whatever. Ball joint peg system in the hands, they stand out a lot because they're the same size of ball joint peg used on the male figures, but you got a swivel at the base, hinge, and then there's a ball joint in the upper part of the hands, but pretty much acts as a swivel because it's so deeply onto the ball joint. Ball joint in the upper part right here, you do want to be careful because the instructions warn you that the red parts on her sort of mid-torso piece may rub off, but as you can see, we can move down that far, back that far, tilt side to side, bottom, same thing, down that far, back that far, tilt side to side. Legs are still creaky, but initially they can move that far forward and that far backward. Pull down, you can get that far up, and let's see, that far back. And there's a swivel, which if you move the leg a little bit with the swivel, you can get really high up for some nice high kick poses. And look at this. Look at this. You can actually get both feet together for a flight pose. Like, that is amazing. And you don't even have to bend the knees to get them closer together. You can get perfect flight poses with this figure. That is one of the reasons I love this figure so much. And, you know, no, we're not going to go into the other things here. Double hinge knees, swivel at the top of the foot, hinge in the ankle, a pivot, which due to her high-heeled feet, the pivot is a little weird. Just, it's weirder to move. It's kind of more like a swivel. And hinge in the toes. Hinge in the fucking toes! They don't move down, though. Sad face. So yeah, just look at that. Look at that. Look at how you can get her. Look at the kind of flight pose you can get her. And that's amazing right there. Yeah, so yeah, articulation's out of the way. Now before we get on to sizing, if we can get her to stand, you know, we'll just lean her against the back there. So for accessories, she comes with hands, and that's really, and one of these things, and a couple of these, and that's really about it. This figure really does not deliver on accessories. So for hands, we get chopping hands, which, again, they are very nice. They are much smaller than the standard chopping hands, which is good, because, you know, it's a woman, so it's got to be smaller. And yeah, see, we got some nice details there. Nice glove-like wrinkles and seams. There's not a whole lot to say about these. And we get some open hands. They look a little weird, kind of like pointing, but they look good. You get the accessory stand piece, which to get this on, you just press in on the side part of this panel on her back right here, which causes it to tilt, and you get in and pull it out. And you take this little thing, you line it up right. You put it in, you take the stand, you put it on. Although, for some reason, all the Tamashii stands I have, they don't really fit her that well. If I can just get it on there. As you can see, she's very loose on there. So what I prefer to use with this figure and this figure only is a Figma stand. So it fits her much better. As you can see here, she's not falling over. But yeah, although these accessory stand pieces are horrible for flight poses because they have to be on an angle, or the stand needs to go in between their legs and they have a weird pole coming out of their crotch. So these aren't completely useful for any pose in the air with an Ultra, only for jumping or just getting them to stand better. Clips are still needed for flight poses, and to switch the hands out, you just grab as close to the joint as possible, make sure all pressure is on the hand, pull it off, take the hand you want to put on, actually we'll take one of these hands, pop it on, which open hands are always somehow more of a hassle to get on for some reason. And there you go. And with the open hands, what I've never mentioned in my Ultra Act reviews, the open hands always get more of a ball joint motion out of them at the actual ball joint of the ball joint peg. So yeah, there's that for you. When you're up against there again. And for accessories, she comes with an Ultra Slash and this kick, which I don't know what it's called. These are both for 80. She comes with no effect parts for herself whatsoever. I forgot to put that in. There we go. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but to get on, it's just like switching a hand with this. I'm not going to show it for time reasons. And with the kick, it's very easy. You just get 80's foot, put it in there, and there you go. You can do his kick effect thingy. This is the only Ultra Act I have that actually fits this. Yullian can use the Ultra Slash, but the hand looks a little too big. And she can use the kick effect, but you just have to let gravity hold it on instead of just having it stay on her foot with friction, like with 80. So yeah, that's accessories out of the way. Now that 80's here, sizing, here's Ultraman 80. This is a pretty good sizing, I would say. 80 is just a tad bit taller. Here is Lord and Savior Master Wu, because Wu, this isn't very accurate, but this is not the figure Wu's fault. Here's Balton, here's Balton 5, or this technically should be Balton 6, because Yullian was in the episode with Balton 6. They were never seen on screen together, but just why not? And here's a bunch of Godzillas. Here's a couple. Here's NECA Godzilla 2014, and SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1995 Rebirth version. Just to give you an idea of sizing here with two very common figures. And finally, I'm just going to hold Yullian up, because even though she's easy to stand in her high heels, she's falling over a lot on my stage. And finally, here is Godzilla 1975, because Showa. Put that on the other side there. Yeah, there we go. That looks nice. Now on to the final part of the review, history of the figure and pricing. This figure was originally released in last year, actually, shortly after 80, was $80, which that is a complete ripoff. That is a horrible price to pay for this figure. I got this figure for about $48. I would suggest paying that. So for a rating, I'm going to give this figure, I'm actually going to give it a 10 out of 10, because I love this figure so much. It's just so fun to pose around. We're not going to talk about that. No, let's not go there. Keep it PG here. PG-13. Fuck. So yeah, now I'm going to try and fit some pictures of the figure in Shimama Jamo. Means I actually ate the whole thing.